called building a library. It's also called impulse spending. That's really not the point here today. Hello and welcome back to my channel, or hi if you're new. My name is Emma, complete grad, almost film grad. The last book haul I put up, there's a part 2. And like I said, I have a problem, so now there's actually a part 3. Hugely inspired by the fact that you guys left comments being like, oh, if you like this book, you should read this book. And the problem is that I listen to you guys. This is like the opposite of a support group, right? This is like the encouragement of said problem. And said problem, as we all know, those of us gathered here today, is the rapid acquisition of books whether you're gonna read them or not. It's called building a library. It's also called impulse spending. That's really not the point here today. Hello boys and girls, all the cool cats and kittens. Anyway, I bought a bunch more books. Like I said, and I've explained to you many times, try and reason this to myself, primary school where I volunteer at. Reading with little kids, see, I'm not moralising the thing that, oh, I've done a good thing, so I deserve a reward. No, Emma, you should just do the good thing. So, primary school I volunteer at, my bus stop, beautiful bookshop. Lots of books. We're gonna start with the most special book on this entire pile. Special? Emma, what exactly makes the first book on this list special? Because this is not just any book, dear friends. No. This is my mother's book. And she doesn't know that I'm doing this. Everybody in the comments leave lovely comments for my mother because she reads them and, you know, as we know, she loves her fans. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Historical Etiquette. Etiquette books in 19th century Western cultures by Dr. Annick Paternoster. That's my mummy. This book is a groundbreaking study of etiquette in the 19th century when the success of etiquette books reached unprecedented heights in Britain, France, Italy, the Netherlands and the United States. It positions etiquette as a fully fledged theoretical concept within the fields of politeness studies and historical pragmatics. After tracing the origin of etiquette back to Spanish court protocol, the analysis takes a novel approach to key aspects of etiquette. It's highly coercive and intricate scripts, the liminal rituals of social gatekeeping, the fear for blunders, the obsession with precedence, interrogating the complex relationship between historical etiquette and adjacent notions of politeness, conduct, morality, convention and ritual. The study prompts questions on gender stereotyping and class privilege surrounding the present-day etiquette revival. Through adopting a unique comparative approach, love comparative literature, and the corpus-based methodology, the study seeks to revitalise our understanding of etiquette. This book will be of interest to scholars of historical linguistics and pragmatics, as well as those in neighbouring fields such as literary criticism, gender studies, and family life, domestic and urban spaces. Round of applause for my mother, everyone. I love my mum, but I'm never going to read it because I already know it inside out. If you will flick for a moment to the the acknowledgements. I'm listed by name, ahead of my brother. Mum wrote most of this during the pandemic. It was quite funny because in the living room what we would do is Mum would sit in her sofa, Louis would sit in his sofa, and I would sit in the other sofa. And Mum would do this. Is a word? And we're like, no. Okay. What if I put it in a sentence like this? Almost right, but if maybe you need to change it like this. Okay. In English, can you say this? So it's kind of fun to be like part of the workflow, but basically what Mum did is it says corpus-based study. So what they did was they scanned loads and loads and loads and loads of these books. And then Mum had to go through basically every single one of them and make sure the software they were using had transcribed things properly. So she has read hundreds of these books. Etiquette books and conduct manuals. They're not exactly the same thing. If you'd like to know why, you can read my mother's book. And because Mum has this fantastic thing of girlie speaks so many languages. I think I've said this before. English is my mother's fourth language? Basically, on the fluent level, Mum speaks fluent Flemish, French, Italian, English, and then like a Spanish is good, a German is good. I think she can do Greek. I think it's more ancient Greek. Best you can do Latin. So she's one of those. She's one of those. So she was like, oh, I'm gonna use that. And so she did. Because what happened in the 19th century is you've had a lot of revolutions already. So when you get rid of monarchies, whose models of behaviour for appropriate high class behaviour, who do you follow? So when you still have a system with a class structure, but no should we say, definite pinnacle of said power, who do you then look to for your models of behaviour, models of etiquette? Also because people figured out in a class structure a great way for class mobility is to adopt said customs, which is why that at the top the customs change to try and like gatekeep things, and why like this fear of like blunders is so important. It's like if you blunder, you out yourself. You basically out yourself as being socially below the people who've been born into this, you treat it as their birthright, and that's how you keep people out, like the upper echelons. Because especially in the 19th century, when you get industrial revolutions, then you do get people making a lot of money from socially lower classes, and you start to get this like new ruling class, the nouveau riche, who have money but no titles, and then the aristocracy, if we're looking at Britain for example, who have titles and no money. And then you put them together, you get a ruling class. But these people did not necessarily want to like these people, so these people pretended to behave like these people, and then sometimes they would catch them out and be like, no. Which is a wonderful bastardization of my mother's other child. Yes, I do find this very, very fascinating. Or maybe mum has just brainwashed me into finding it fascinating because I'm a child. Very proud of my mum. If you look, it is expensive. So, all the little students out there, or better yet, I know some of you actually are PhD students and academics to do with universities. I know you're there, I do see you. If you could maybe do my mum a solid, don't tell her I sent you. Is there a way for you to like request books for your library? Because this is academic, I wouldn't necessarily read this for funsies. I know this book inside out because I didn't have a choice in the matter, but this belongs in the university library. So if there's a way that you guys can request books that your library needs to buy and acquire, get them to acquire this one. It's pretty, she let me help choose the title page. And Girly got it published by Palgrave Macmillan, which to some of you will mean something, and it is pretty fucking cool. And it was a lot of fun being Mum's COVID sounding board for this, so it's very much Emma approved. So it's kind of funny holding this being like, I helped! So yes, obviously very, very proud of my mummy for this one. I will leave a link for it down below if you want to go check it out. And just send it to whatever system your library has to acquire books. Just pop it in there being like, can we have this please? Just go for it. You never know. And don't tell my mum I sent you, because she'll be like, Emma, why? why not? That's one I'm not allowed to throw because she'll literally have my head for it. Anyway, we shall now move on to the less biased, should we say, portion of this video. Right, okay. You know that one video, okay, one of the videos you guys like literally or borderline harassed me for to make, and I'm not ready to make it because I need to do it in a specific way. Basically, you all want me to do a video on why you read the classics and what to start with. I can't do that until I finish reading this. This is Calvino's Why Read the Classics. Basically, I couldn't fucking find this book. I couldn't fucking find it. I couldn't fucking find it. The annoying thing is that I've read his essay Why Read the Classics. I read it during my undergrad. I couldn't fucking find it anywhere, so I had to buy the entire fucking book to get that one essay, which is literally like 5 pages long. The thing I love about Calvino, and it's so obvious in all of his writing, is that he loves books. Man's a through and through bibliophile. My favourite authors to read are the people who are very, very obvious bibliophiles. I feel like Nancy Mitford, when she does all her like 18th century stuff, like she loves that shit. She loves the French, she loves Paris, it's so obvious in everything that she writes. And I feel the same way about Calvino and everything he writes. He loves literature. He loves literature. So this book is essentially a collection of his essays on literature, on different people. But the fun thing is obviously that he loves classics, so he writes on classics. So his essays in this are books I love and have read, and that makes it so much fun. It just, ugh. Why Read the Classics is an elegant defence of the value of great literature by one of the finest authors of the last century, beginning with an essay on the attributes that define a classic. Number 1, classics are those books that people always say they are rereading, not reading. This is an absorbing collection of Italo Calvino's witty and passionate criticism. It's the passion that gets me. It's so palpable. It's so palpable. It just makes his writing feel alive. And there is no other way I feel like I can explain that. Within 36 essays, including thoughts on figures such as Homer, Hemingway, Borges, Tolstoy, and Twain. Why Read the Classics represents Calvino's own canon of great works and is full of fascinating insights from the mercurial, incisive mind of a brilliant reader as well as writer. And the Sunday Telegraph says, one of the most inspiring justifications of great literature I've ever come across. Oh excited about this though. Really excited about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to properly read his essay, Why Read the Classics. And once I've read that, and once I've reread a couple of things that Sontag has written, and then I will go and do that video for you. Because I want to do it as like a proper video essay, so I kind of need to almost write it out first. I want to drag me in some quotes. And I have points to make. Like, make no mistake, I have really been thinking about this video for a really long time. I want to do it properly because I have stuff to say. For me, it's about getting to that point where I feel like I've covered all my bases, have a strong argument. Come on, come on. I don't need to explain myself to you guys know by now. Anyway, the other stuff that's in here, I'll read you the other essays. The Odysseys within the Odyssey, Ovid and the universal contiguity? That just looks like two half-written words. Brief anthology of octaves from Aristo, Robin Crusoe and the Journal of Mercantile Virtues, Candide or Concerning Narrative Rapidity, Denis Diderot, Jacques le Fatiste, Knowledge as a Dust Cloud in Stendhal, Guide for the New Readers of Stendhal's Child House, Leo Tolstoy, Two Hussars, Conrad's Captains, Henry James, Daisy Miller, Hemingway and Ourselves, blah 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 blah. My point being, Bestie loves books, and I love him. So this was an absolute no-brainer, and this is what I mean when I said that entire last book haul about like filling gaps in your library. Again, how did I not own this? Simply because I couldn't bloody find it. It was driving me up. It was driving me mad. And also realising that Why Read the Classics is kind of the key for me cracking that video for myself. I'm super excited about it. I hope you guys are too. What was I talking about? My original train of thought has just, it's not just left the station, it's just gone. Anyway, another book. This is a book video and I have talked about 2 books and it's been 40 minutes. So, next I bought Joan Didion, The Year of Magical Thinking. Basically, Lady Bird starts with a quote from Joan Didion. What is it? It's like, you don't know hell if you've never spent a summer in Sacramento. It's something to that effect. And like, I knew who Joan Didion was, but I'd never read any of her writing. And then one of my mates, so my mate Miller, so one of my best friends who reads quite a bit as well, we have completely, and I cannot stress enough, completely different taste in books. Polar opposites. We have this now running gag where if one of us hates something, we will recommend it to the other, being like, you will love this. And then if one of us loves something and the other asks if they should read it, we say no, you will despise it. So she read Joan Didion's, what was it, like Road to Bethlehem, and was like, I absolutely hated it. You would love it though. Thanks babe. So I listened to it and I bought Joan Didion's The Magical Year of Thinking. It was also because I read Natasha Lunn's Conversations on Love. I kind of just wanted to read a little bit more. Life changes fast. Life changes in the instant. You sit down to dinner and life as you know it ends. That's the proper blurb. When Joan Didion's husband suddenly died of a massive heart attack, a partnership of 40 years ended in a second. Just days before, the couple had seen their only daughter fall seriously ill. Despite the unshakable reality of her husband's death, Joan Didion's thinking was far from down to earth. She found herself, for instance, keeping his shoes in case he returned. Slowly, she realised that beneath all the ritual and words lay a simple aching truth, that she longed to perform an impossible trick and bring him back. This is the story of a year spent wishing, a year of magical thinking. Now I remember. A lot of Natasha Lunn's book, Conversations on Love, a third of it is actually about loss. It is about loss of love. I initially thought it was going to be about earlier breakups in relationships. It was actually much more about divorce and even more about grief. About when you lose somebody that you love, whether it is a friend, a lover, a sibling, a parent. When they're gone and you will never be able to have them back. It was an interesting read for me because I haven't luckily had to deal very much with grief. I haven't had to, which has been very lucky. I've been close a couple times. I'm just gonna keep my hand, this is my desk, I'm just gonna keep my hand here while I say this. So I've never had to give it active thought, whereas reading those interviews in Natasha Lunn's book was really, really interesting because I had to think about it in a way I hadn't thought about it before, or really kind of confront it at all. It was just a little bit soul-shattering in a lot of ways because I'm very lucky that I haven't had to deal with grief or learn anything about grief and death and loss, but I've been very close to having to have to, of some of the people closest in my life. And the reality is that I have not processed that. So like, almost. Because obviously you're like, oh, it didn't happen, so I don't need to think about it. But it meant that I have not dealt with so many of those feelings and so many of those emotions. as you can hear. So I did want to read something that was more about grief and loss of the people you love the most. And I also wanted to read Joan Didion. So I did what I'm sure a few of you will have done in the past, which is go onto Goodreads and just choose like the highest rated thing that they have. I was like, this will be a good, you know, a good amount of their writing. Because Joan Didion is also very well known for being a journalist, obviously. This seems to just tie this and this together up in a perfect little bow. So yes, I am anticipating this will make me cry. I'm also anticipating that I'm gonna love it, which is obviously a bold thing to say about somebody you've never read anything of. So let's see. I really hope Joan Didion does not let me down. I don't think she will. I just don't think, she just seems like one of the girls, you know? She's not gonna let me down. I just don't think she is. Now somebody who is, I don't know if this is one of the girlies, I also then bought, this was in the same slightly delirious Amazon shop. David Hume, An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I was going through something. Gosh, I just haven't bought an Oxford Well Classic in a while, if I'm completely honest. Again, this is in line with buying things you kind of feel like you should already own, but I just don't think I've read any like hardcore philosophy. Yes, Emma, hardcore philosophy. I swear to God, you just need to not speak sometimes. Basically, I already note roots in this. Wrote notes. My note in here goes, I just love these dudes who just pick topics and then just write on them. Like Montaigne. One of his essays is just called On Smells. And that just makes me, it just makes me laugh. Of the origin of ideas, of the association of ideas, of probability, of liberty and necessity, of the reason of animals, of miracles, of academic or skeptical philosophy. Basically, I just like essays and I do like philosophy and I do like anything about free will, morality, reason, logic, just that kind of stuff really floats my boat. You guys will know from like very long ago book tours, when I remember to do bookshelf tours, of how much like of these little ones that I have bought before. You know, Pascal, Human Happiness, John Locke on the Use of Words, Michel de Montaigne on Friendship, Machiavelli the Prince, Rousseau the Social Contract. Like, I kind of think that these little ones are the bestest ever. So yeah, you know, oh, there's a good bit of Kant and a good bit of Descartes in there. So really it just follows my tradition of liking to melt my brain every once in a while. And I really don't think I've fried my brain recently, so here's some David Hume, because yeah, I don't think I have any of his stuff. So, padding out the lid, guys. What can I say? Commit it then to the flames, for it can contain nothing but sophistry and illusion. Thus ends David Hume's Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding, the definitive statement of the greatest philosopher in the English language. That's true, actually. Pretty much all of the philosophy I've ever read has been in translation because it's been French or German, but it's not really German because Germany doesn't really exist, or Italian, but it's also not really Italian because Italy doesn't really exist, or Dutch. Yeah. Basically, I don't think I've read very much English philosophy, interestingly enough. But would you expect anything different from a complet girly? His arguments in support of reasoning from experience and against the sophistry and illusion of religiously inspired philosophical fantasies caused controversy in the 18th century and are strikingly relevant today when faith and science continue to clash. The inquiry considers the origin and process of human thought, reaching the stark conclusion that we can have no ultimate understanding of the physical world or indeed our own minds. I buy that. In either sphere we must depend on instinctive learning from experience, recognising our animal nature and the limits of reason. Hume's calm and open-minded skepticism thus aims to provide a new basis for science, liberating us from a superstition of false metaphysics and religion. His Enquiry remains one of the best introductions to the study of philosophy, and this edition places it in historical and philosophical context. We love context! I will argue that that is one of the things that makes classics difficult to read, is the fact that we don't just assume the understanding of the context and the fact that you have to make the extra effort to understand socio-historic context. That's quite a big argument of that video, by the way. I'm lucky that I have read so much 18th century philosophy that I'm like, I kind of get where this is all coming from. The Enlightenment, kiddos. I am a little bit obsessed with it. I find it fascinating. It's just funny that we're all walking around in our little meat suits and like have free will. Like it's so weird. Like it's so weird. But I love a bit of the 18th century. Love a bit of philosophy. Love a little white man going, I have ideas. So it's silly I don't already own this. You know what I mean? Melt my brain. Tell me the things you want me to know. or more, it's more like the theory of thought. The 18th century just basically rebels a lot against like dogmatic thinking that is derivative of the rule of the church. Back to Descartes and his rotten apples. Kind of, you know, you're like, oh, why do I think the thing? Examine said apple and go, actually, I think this thing because my parents instilled it in me, because their parents instilled it in them, blah 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 blah. It's not actually my own idea. I do not actually think this is a good idea. I just adopted it because I parroted, and that's why. Yeet. But that is my ongoing argument for reading philosophy and engaging in these kind of discourses. Whether it's a discussion, an argument, whatever you want to call it, you need to challenge the way that you think constantly. Because there may be a point where you slipped into dogmatic thinking. You have opinions that you don't know where they come from. You have opinions that you don't even agree with at heart, which is kind of mad. Whether it's a lack of understanding, a lack of information, a lack of new information, we all need a healthy debate once in a while. Talk about it. But as usual, I have digressed. So, let's move on. Am I halfway through this pile yet? No, I've done 4 books and I have 5 books left. Right, I'm gonna go get a cup of tea. This is your tea break. I'm gonna put up the pause thing and you go also get a cup of tea. I'll be right back. Oops. Drop the books. Oh no, I did drop a book. I just don't want to spill hot tea on myself. I was walking back over here from the kitchen. I was like bamboozled as to how there was like daylight pouring out of this room. You have lights, Emma. You have studio lights. That's, oh fuck, that's really hot. Shit. Oh bollocks. Oh, ow. Oh, it's fine. I didn't eat my fingerprints anyway. I'm sat on my phone. Okay, let's carry on. I bought Anaïs Nin, The Veiled Woman. It's another one of these short ones. I haven't read any of these in a really long time. I used to read them to like bump up my Goodreads total at the end of the year. Fun fact, it fucking works, but I haven't read one of these in a while. I saw it, I impulse bought it for £2 whole. Transgressive desires and sexual encounters are recounted in these 4 pieces from one of the greatest writers of erotic fiction. Ew. I haven't read any porn in a while. That's not true. I haven't read any good porn in a while. There we go, sorry. Erotica. You can call it erotica, it's still pornography. In here there is The Veiled Woman, Linda, Miranda, Marianne. I have never heard of Anaïs Nin. I don't know anything about her, but that's why I like these little ones. I have a, we're over there, I have like a bunch of them because I think they're a really good way to like taste test different writers. It's like a tasting menu of people's style and philosophy. In the early 1940s, Anaïs Nin began writing erotica at $1 a page for an unnamed collector. These pieces were later published in the 1970s. The Veiled Woman, Linda and Marianne first appeared in the collection Delta of Venus, 1977, and Miranda in Little Birds, 1976. That is all I have to say about this. It piqued my interest because it's erotica. That's it. Like, that's this. I like discovering new people. Welcome to the library, my friend. My finger really isn't okay. I'm gonna send off my fingerprints. It's totally fine. That actually really hurt. Oh. I actually burnt that. I bought some of Colette's writing. I bought some of Colette's writing. Never read any of her stuff. So I was like, these are short. I keep reading 500-page books. Gotta get something to bump up the Goodreads total. Which I think is part of the reasoning that I gave in my last book video for buying the Breton. What was the other one I bought? The Trial. I don't think I'm gonna read The Trial fast though, so I don't know what I'm thinking. They're doing in Mitford. Okay, this is Paris in the, is it the 20th century or the 19th century? Late 19th, early 20th. Point is, this early 20th century, especially like war, interwar period, is one of my faves, especially for Paris. It's just like a little world and I'm just like, this is curious. It's very fascinating. I always do wonder though if maybe that's because in a past life, that's where you lived, or lived a chunk of your past life, if you believe in that kind of stuff. I don't think I do, but then I also find this like proclivity for certain time and places, very specifically. It's not just Paris, it's very much Paris 1920s to 1950s. Did I live there in a past life for 30 years? Why do I care so much about it? Why do I find it so interesting? I wouldn't say that I identify with it, but my soul goes, I like this is nice. So I just find that kind of curious, do you know what I mean? Does anyone else have that? Tell me where like you're like, because it's not just a place and it's not just time, it's specifically a time and place and vibe. Are there any places that you like have that towards, where you're like, kind of, I feel comfy here and I like it? So I bought some Colette. So the ones that I bought are, this is Chéri. I initially thought this was Gigi and the cat. This is actually two separate stories. One of them is Gigi, the other is a cat. In a similar vein to the last book called, now I have not seen the film with Keira Knightley as Colette. That's a really weird, had Anna Karenina before Colette now? No, I haven't watched that. Look up Colette though, she's an interesting one, is what I'll say. Anyway, this is Chéri. Léa de Longueval is a magnificent and Asian courtesan facing the end of her career. She has devoted the last 6 years to the amorous education of the handsome and spoiled Chéri, a playboy half her age. We love a toy boy. You go, girl. When an advantageous marriage is arranged for Chéri, Léa reluctantly decides their relationship must end, but neither lover can foresee how deeply they are connected, or how much they will have to give up. Her writing is sensuous and acute as it is unsentimental. Very beautiful and subtle, I feel more alive when I read her. And it's like 100 pages. Courtesan, handsome playboy, Paris. Ah oui oui. This is set in Paris. I'm assuming this is set in Paris. I'm wondering if I'm going to end up regarding Colette in that sort of same vein that I do Mitford. Do you guys know what I mean? Oh, don't, Emma, don't do that again, you're going to burn it. Oh, I don't want. Let's have a look at Gigi. Gigi's days are filled with cigars, lobsters, lace and superstitions, the education of the future courtesan. Okay, like, where do I sign up? Oh, is this just called being a sugar baby now? Because I don't want to do that, but do I have to? Born unconvinced by what she's taught, Gigi surprises all with her approach to love. In a classic turn-of-century novella, Colette unveils Gigi's journey into womanhood in rich and supple prose. This may sound absolutely deranged to say, but I think good prose is underrated. And I don't think enough of the authors I have read who have published in the last 10 years have paid nearly enough attention to it. Literature classics that get read over and over and over again are the ones who also have excellent prose. I've told you already, this is my main gripe with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It could have been incredible, but it won't, in my opinion, be a withstanding classic because the prose is bad. For God's sake, write something stylistically good. Why is this so hard for people to understand? Some people just don't read enough and understand what you can actually do with words. It just makes me cross and kind of grumpy because then I'm like, I'm reading somebody who hasn't read enough. Again, this is why I like Calvino. Not only is he intelligent and playful, very, you know, the way he writes characters, the way he does stories, the way he just uses his words and makes the words do the thing, and that's reading it as a fucking translation, mind you. Like, some people are just not very good with the word bit of writing. Yes, this is where this like delusion that I'm like, I would like to write a collection of essays. I'm just going to say this out into the world. I would really like to do that. In a massive way, because I've read so much modern stuff where all I'm doing is like, dude, you've got a book contract? I can write way better than this. In every sense. Anyway, she's been compared to a 20th century female Montaigne. I think this also drew me under the back, I won't lie to you. I was like, ooh, you said Bay's name? Ah! She's been compared to a 20th century Montaigne, and it is true that her books offer a manual on how to live fearlessly and joyfully, greedily alive to every sensation and experience. We also know that I do love a bit of libertinism, and while I don't necessarily think that this would ever be that kind of mindset I feel like sometimes is just very fucking French. So I think I'm going to enjoy this significantly. What is Gigi is only 57 pages. And then the cat, which it doesn't say anything about the cat, it just says this edition includes the cat. I don't know what that is about, but I don't know what that is about. I'm assuming it's about a cat. But Gigi is published in 1944 and Le Chat was published in 1933. So again, it's a time period, and yeah. Courtesans, lobster, can't go wrong. Anyway, I have 2 books and no brain cells left, so let's continue. As you may remember from that video, I helped my mum clear out her bookshelf, and I was like, can I have this? And she was like, yes you can. This is The Book Thief. This is again one of those I feel like I've been told over and over to read. Some people say that it's incredible. I think some people are ambivalent about it, but I would like to see how I feel about it. It is of course a #1 international bestseller by Markus Zusak. Here is a small fact. You're going to die. 1939, Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier. It's dark. Liesl, a 9-year-old girl, is living with her foster family on Himmel Street. Her parents have been taken away to a concentration camp. Liesl steals books. This is her story and the story of the inhabitants of her street when bombs began to fall. Some important information. This novel is narrated by deaf. That's the thing about this novel, isn't it? I think that's one of the things that makes everybody just go It's a small story about a girl, an accordionist, some fanatical Germans, a Jewish a Jewish fish fighter, a Jewish fist fighter, and quite a lot of thievery. Another thing you should know, Deaf will visit the book thief 3 times. I mean, you certainly have my attention, that's quite a way to write a blurb. Interesting choice of font though, fucking hell. Why would you use that? Really my curiosity is here because I just heard it talked about so much that I would like to just see what's up. If Mum hadn't just let me take it, I don't know if I would have gone out of my way to buy it. I don't read very much Second World War stuff. I took a module during my undergrad which was the Holocaust in Rwanda. So yeah, that was kind of, how do I put it, heavy. So it's not really a setting, shall we say, the fiction that I gravitate to a lot. The only person that I want to make an exception to read more of is Primo Levi. Him I want to read more of. I read that on that module and bro, it just fucking hurts. It just hurts so bad, so yeah, I'm curious to read that one. I don't think I'm in any rush to read it. It's now part of my library. I'll get there eventually. That's often what I do with books, you know. They stay on your bookshelf for like 7 years and you're like, yes, it is time now. Yeah, but man, Primo Levi, he's both so good and the whole thing is just, it's fucking heartbreaking. It's just fucking awful. It's just so shit. That's still pretty hot. I've got 1 book left. My mother broke a rule. Well, actually she's done it twice in this video already. My mother broke a rule. She brought me a hardback book. If you ever buy me a book, dear friends, please don't buy me hardbacks. I get really cross about hardbacks because I feel like I'm not allowed to write in them. That's the only reason I don't like them, is because I feel like I'm not allowed to write in it. Like, can I scribble all over this? I don't know. Unless it's like a Folio Society book, then you can buy me a hardback, but otherwise. The other rule for ever gifting me a book, dear friends, is you are obligated to write a little note in it. Otherwise, I will simply not accept it. Anyway, this is Femina, a new history of the Middle Ages through the women written out of it. So the book I'm currently reading is named The Rose. That's set in the Middle Ages. There's not very many women in that. It's also because it's set in an abbey full of monks, so you wouldn't really expect there to be many women in it. But yeah, you know, it's funny how like history doesn't have many women in it. You ever think about that? It's half the population. Pretty much all of the time. Where have all the women gone? This is by Janina Ramirez, and the cover, it just looks like a vagina. Do you tell me that you also see a clitoris? The Sunday Times bestseller. Alice Roberts and Lucy Woolsey said something nice about it, so you know that it's good. I am the fiery life of divine substance. I blaze above the beauty of the fields. I shine in the waters. I burn in the sun, moon and stars. Hildegard of Bingen, 1098 to 1179. The Middle Ages is seen as a bloodthirsty time of Vikings, saints and kings, a patriarchal society which oppressed and excluded women. But when we dig a little deeper into the truth, we can see that the Dark Ages were anything but. Oxford and BBC historian Janina Ramirez has uncovered countless women's names struck out of historical records, with the word Femina, not Feminina, annotated beside them. As gatekeepers of the past ordered books to be burned, artworks to be destroyed, and new versions of myth, legends and documents to be produced, our view of history has been manipulated. This is very, very much worth remembering. Think about how much history has been omitted because it does not serve the interests of the person or peoples recording it. Only now, through careful examination of artifacts, writings and possessions they left behind, are the influential and multifaceted lives of women emerging. Feminina goes beyond the official records to uncover the true impact of women like Jadwiga, the only female king in Europe, Marjorie Kemp, who exploited her image and the story to ensure her notoriety, and the Loftus princess whose existence gives us clues about the beginnings of Christianity in England. Discover how these remarkable women were erased from our collective memories and see the medieval world with fresh eyes. Mum bought me this for Christmas. It's not Christmas, but that book. But you really, 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 really never ought to forget. Recording the incredible things women have done throughout history does not serve men because it undermines the patriarchy, and if you want to keep a group of people oppressed, you just simply erase their historical existence. You can erase incredible achievements, or potentially even worse, you know, attribute them to people or peoples who look more like you or serve your purpose. And do the opposite. You can attribute awful things to people you do not like so that you can, you know, condemn a group or make people look bad or all of that kind of stuff. We're talking about humans. Humans are not reasonable and rational. That's why I am obsessed with the Enlightenment, because it's this belief that maybe we could be, and trying to, I guess, in a way override what is actually our natural default state. So, no. There is no, like, objective truth when it comes to history, I suppose, because history is always written and recorded by people. And people have opinions and agendas, so we'll see when I read this, because I don't anticipate me necessarily putting it top of my list, but I do think I should read more history books. I just hope that it's not boring. But there are pictures, I already looked, and a big font, so I can get through this. I can read this, but Mummy, I love you, but I probably won't read it in my 20s. I kind of know that about myself already. We'll see when I get around to you, but it is very fun and exciting that this research is being done, because there are many myths about women and relationships and all that kind of stuff that the patriarchy wants you to believe. As you can see, my last brain cell has in fact left the building, ladies and gentlemen. So I will sign off this video because too many words. Why so many words, Emma? Words too many. As ever, thank you very, 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 very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and other jazz, and I will see you guys, yeah, pretty damn soon. My mummy bought me this. My mum bought me this for Christmas. Mum bought me for this. Mum bought me this as Christmas. Mum bought me this. This was a Christmas. Mum bought me this for Christmas.